welcome to another Lawn Fawn video. Today we are so excited to be introducing our brand new stamp set, Mice Tools, its coordinating dies, and its coordinating coloring stencils. We're also going to be taking a look at the Mice Tools add-on stamp set along with its coordinating dies and coloring stencils. The add-on stamp set is a perfect match to the Mice Tools set. It has that cute little mouse facing in the other direction and also some really fun sentiments too. So let's go ahead and check all of these out. First up, we're going to take a look at the Mice Tools stamp set, and it has this super cute mouse in overalls and a little baby mouse in overalls too. I love that little mouse so much. We have a mouse holding onto a tape measure, which is just adorable, and another mouse with a hammer. And then we have a bunch of fun tools that you can use to help set the scene or have them hold. We have a saw, a wrench, a hammer. We also have a ruler, and then this little pile of nails, which is really cute and really helps set the scene. We also have a box of nails too, and we have a little wood plank there with a nail in it so that that little mouse with the hammer can look like he's hammering that in. We have a box full of supplies that says assembly required, and also a toolbox full of tools too. We have the cutest little tool bench and a little chair to go along with that to help create the cutest scenes with these guys. We also have some cute tiny phrases. We have "It's Father's Day," "This is not a drill," and "You really measure up." We also have this large Happy Father's Day, and I love those outline letters because they're so much fun to color in. Then we have "You're nailing this dad thing," and then we have all of these mix and match phrases that you can kind of build your own perfect sentiment with. So we have "To the best dad or husband I ever saw," so "To the best dad I ever saw," or "To the best dad ever," or "To the best husband ever." We also have the phrase "Who can fix anything," or "Who can build anything." So you could say "To a dad who can fix anything," or "To the best dad I ever saw who can fix anything." So there's a lot of fun ways to mix and match these to create super cute and fun punny sentiments. And of course, you can add an exclamation point to the ends of your phrases. Now next up, we're going to take a look at the Mice Tools add-on stamp set, which has this super cute little baby mouse in overalls, and he's facing in the other direction of the other mouse, so they're fun to mix and match together. And then we have some more mix and match sentiments. So here you can say "To a great guy," "To a great son." We also have "Your tool-to-ly" instead of "totally awesome." And then we also have "Sawsome," which is really, really cute and fun. And then we have "No one measures up to you," which I think is a super, super cute phrase. And what's really great about these is that they're mix and matchable with the other set. So you could say "To the best guy ever," for example. You can also mix and match all of the characters together. So I like that you can mix and match all of these sentiments, like "You're totally awesome, dad." So there's a lot of fun ways to mix and match these and create your perfect sentiment for your card. Next up, we're going to add some color to these adorable images. And here I'm using some Copic markers, but you could use any alcohol-based markers. You could use watercolors, colored pencils, anything in your imagination. You can use coloring stencils too, which we'll show you in just a little bit. And here you can see that I'm using some E40s on the brown of the mouse, and then I used some blues for the overalls to get that kind of classic denim overall look. What I love about their little overalls is it's a really fun place to add color into your card. So you can do orange, blue, yellow, pink, purple, anything to really add nice bright pops of color. These cute little mouse are the latest in our mice series, so you can mix and match any of our mouse sets together, which is so much fun. I love that two of the mice already have tools with them, but that two of them don't. That way that you could use them on tool cards, or you could use them on non-tool cards and mix and match them with some of your other favorite mice characters. Now I love this tool theme so much. It is so cute and it's so perfect for Father's Day, but we're also going to show you a really cute idea to make a thank you card with these guys too. So while they're amazing for Father's Day, you can actually use them year round as well. I'm bringing in some light pink markers to add some pink to their ears and then little rosy cheeks. There's something about the little rosy cheeks on them that I think just makes them so super cute. Then I'm bringing in some bright yellows on the overalls, and then I'm going to bring that same yellow into the other accessories. That way everything mixes and matches really nicely. So I added it to the ruler, to the arrow on the box, to the little measuring tape. And then now I'm going to bring in some orange for this guy's overalls. Again, these are just nice, bright and fun and happy colors, and I think they look really nice together. And so I'm going to blend out that orange, and again I'm going to do the same thing where I'm going to bring the orange into other little details on the set. So on the handle of the screwdriver, on the handle of the hammer. Then I'm going to add some light grays on to the measuring tape there. And then I decided to bring some cool grays in for the metals. There's something about cool grays to me that just looks like metal. So I'm just bringing in some of those there for the hammer and the wrench and the saw, etc. Just adding a little bit of shadow on one edge to make it really look like it's like a shiny piece of metal. Then I'm going to take those same blues that we were using for the overalls and add that in to the the saw there in the box of nails. And then I'm going to bring some BG markers here onto this guy's overalls. Again, just to bring in lots of fun, different bright pops of color, and then a little purple pocket, because why not? Now, I really like using these E25 type markers for the wood pieces. There's something about it that I think looks really nice. It's also a different shade of brown than what I use for the mice. And I really like to do that. Whatever shade I use for the mice, I'm going to use a different shade of brown for all of the wood details, like the toolbox and the wood that's in the box and the wood with the nail and also this tool bench. Now I'm coloring this to be a wooden tool bench, but you could also do this in grays for metal or even in just fun pops of color, because it would be a fun way to bring in some nice bright pops of color onto a card. Now for this chair, I'm adding wood for the legs, but I'm going to bring in a nice bright color for those. Now for the back of the tool bench, I decided to use some blues. I thought that would look really pretty, but you could use grays to make it look like metal, or maybe just a little bit of gray around the edges to make it look like it was white. I think there's lots of fun ways to add the back of that kind of pegboard for the cute little desk. And then here I'm going to bring in some E30 so that it's a different shade of brown again onto this cute little box. I really like the box. I think it's so fun. My husband loves to build things like from IKEA or any of those kind of things. So I would totally use that on a card, because any assembly required, and he loves it. Now for these letters, I'm adding my darkest marker towards the bottom and then just blending it out with the lightest marker towards the top. And I think that looks so pretty on these letters. Those letters look really nice stamped in a colorful ink too and just left open in the middle. And here you can see just how cute these little characters are looking. And so now I'm going to color in this other little mouse that's in the add-on stamp set. So I'm going to use some E40s there for the mouse. I'll bring in some pinks for the ears and the cheeks. And then I wanted to bring in a nice bright pink for the overalls, which I think looks so super cute on this little mouse. And here you can see how cute it would be to mix and match that little mouse with the other mouse there. Oh my gosh, it's adorable with the pink and the yellow overalls. These are the coordinating dies for the Mice Tools stamp set, which you can take and line up with your stamped images. You'll hold them in place with some low-tack tape, run it through the die cut machine, and you'll have perfectly cut out images all the time. And look how cute. Oh my gosh, I love all these images so much. They are so much fun to mix and match together and create the most adorable scenes. You can have that little mouse hold the different tools, or you can hang some of the tools onto the workbench. You can have the little baby mouse stand on top of the chair, or have the other mouse with the hammer nailing the nail into that plank of wood. You can layer the sentiment there. You can stack it. I love that there's a die that cuts out the sentiment. You can also bring the little mice around the tool bench and layer some of the little tool pieces behind them to help set the scene. There's so many cute ways to use these guys. And then here we have the coordinating dies for the Mice Tools add-on stamp set, which are going to line up with the little mouse, hold it in place with some low-tack tape. We'll run it through the die cut machine, and we have this adorable tiny little mouse, which you can bring into these scenes. And so I love having the mouse facing in the two different directions, because you can really mix and match them in such cute ways. You can see how you could layer the tools behind the mice. You can have these two guys interact. You could have the little box there in between them, and he's got his measuring tape measuring what's going on. You can kind of help tell a story, and they're just so much fun to play with. Now these are the coloring stencils, and you can see it's a set of 3 coloring stencils. Our coloring stencils have etched guidelines, which makes them really easy to line up with your stamped images. So here you can see I have my helper Miles, who's going to help me line up the coloring stencils. He loves using them. So we're going to line it right up over our stamped image and then brush on some ink just like that. And when you do that, it's going to add beautiful color onto your images in such an easy way. I like to build up a little more color to one side and then let it be lighter towards the other to just give an easy shading that I can do with just one color of ink pad. So once I've inked that out there, I can remove the stencil and you can see our cute little mouse is colored in. Then I'm going to take out some pink ink here. This is some ballet slippers, and I'm just going to shift my way down the stencil. And so when I do that, I can line up the ear and the nose and just add some pink for that. And then I can again take my stencil and then just shift right on down and start adding color for the overalls. So here I'm just going to use some fish tank ink, which is a nice bright blue. And again, I'm going to make it darker towards the left side and then let the ink just kind of run out towards the right side to give it a nice shading. And you can see how pretty that's looking. Next, we're going to go ahead and add some color to this toolbox. And what I love about the coloring stencils is that there is a stencil for every single image in the set, which is awesome. And so here I'm going to do this toolbox because I'm going to create a cute card with our adorable little mouse and the toolbox here. And so Miles is helping me add some of the nice dark brown ink here to the toolbox. And then again, we can work our way down the stencil using those etch guidelines to help us line it up. So we'll add some yellow for the ruler. And then here we can add some color. We're going to add some orange onto the handle of the screwdriver. And then for the top of the screwdriver and the wrench, we're going to add some gray, and you can do that all in one of the stencils. And this is just so fun. It looks so gorgeous. I love using my markers. I love using coloring stencils. Both of them are so much fun, and I love the beautiful soft color that the stencils give you. Now there is also a coloring stencil. It is a one-piece stencil here for the Mice Tools add-on. Now our coloring stencils are always sized to the size of the stamp set so that no matter how you store your stamp sets, it's going to be really easy to store the coloring stencils with them. So you can see here this is a mini stamp set, so it has a little mini size coloring stencil. And so we're going to add some color onto the cute little mouse. I used two different shades of brown this time. You can just use one ink pad, or you can mix and match two if you like. And then I'm going to add some purple onto the overalls. I thought that would be really fun. And again, I'm just adding some of the color there over to the left side, more color, and let it be lighter towards the right. There's also even a little stencil for the tiny little pocket. So I'm just going to add an extra layer of purple onto that so that the pocket is a bit of a darker shade than the rest of the overalls. And look how cute that is. He is just adorable. He makes me smile every time I look at him. Now it's time to start creating a card with these awesome sets, and we're going to be using the brand new workshop backdrop. There's a portrait style and a landscape, and you can use it as just a frame, or you can use it with the pegboard in the drawers. Today we're going to use it just as a frame, but I wanted to show you an example of what it looks like with the pegboard in the drawers. Isn't that so super cute? And we'll be creating examples like that later on throughout our inspiration week. But here we have this super cute frame that we've die cut out of some sage leaf cardstock, and you'll see there's little holes there, and you can layer some cardstock behind that to add like a fun little detail, or you can also add brads into those holes, which looks so cool, especially with this fun tool theme that we have going on. So I went ahead and picked out 4 yellow brads, but I'm going to put that aside so that we can do some stamping. Now for the Happy Father's Day sentiment, I'm going to be using the ones that we stamped, colored, and die cut earlier, and I'm just going to lay those down onto the card so that I know the placement of the rest of the sentiment that I want to stamp onto this, and then I can pick that up with the door of my Misty tool. So now that I have those centered, I'm going to build up one of those sentiments. So this says, "To the best dad I ever saw," which is so cute. And I love the fun mix and matching of the sentiments in this set. So now I can just pick up that phrase with the door of my Misty, and I'm going to be doing some stamping in some Blue Jay ink so that it goes along with the blue color that we added to the Happy Father's Day letters. Now that the stamping's done, we can go ahead and add the brads into those little holes. And I think this is just such a cute detail. You could add little sequins over them. There's lots of fun ways that you can add color, cardstock, even metallic cardstock behind them. But there's something about the brads that I think is so fun. And it's a fun way to use up your brad stash too. So here we have those Happy Father's Day letters. I'm just going to make sure they're nice and centered. And then we can add some adhesive to the back of each of these and layer those onto the bottom. So I love that that bottom area is a great place to put your sentiment, which I think just looks adorable. Now for the background, I wanted it to almost look like wallpaper, like in a den or something. And so I thought this fruit salad paper would be really cute with that really pretty blue gingham. And again, it's going to go along with the blue, sage, and yellow theme, which I think is a really pretty color combo. So I went ahead and trimmed that down to be the size of this backdrop, which is 5.5 by 4.25. And then we're going to add some foam tape to the back of this frame to pop it up on that pattern paper. And so I'm going to use some foam tape and also some foam squares all around the back of this piece here. And then we can go ahead and peel up the liner paper and layer that onto the pattern paper. Then I'm also going to take a standard size card base, which is also 5.5 by 4.25, and we're going to layer this whole panel onto that. Next, I wanted to create a ground for my Mice Tools character. So I'm going to take out some sunflower cardstock, which matches the yellow brads, and I'm just going to trim down a piece to be about 1/2 inch tall or so. I just kind of eyeballed something. And then we're going to add some tape under to that and then just tuck it right into this seam. So I'm kind of tucking it behind the frame just a little bit so that it's going to look like the floor of the workshop. Then I went ahead and stamped and colored and die cut some of the images from the Mice Tool stamp set. So we've got the cute little kind of daddy mouse and the baby mouse, and then that tool bench there. And I wanted to add just a little bit of light gray to the edges of the pegboard. I want the pegboard to appear white, but I wanted to have a little bit of detail. So I added a light gray, and then I'm just going to blend that out with my colorless blender just to give it a little bit of extra detail. Then we're going to go ahead and add some foam squares to the back of these images. This card is relatively clean and simple, so adding some extra pop is just going to make it feel a little special. So I'm going to add that tool bench right in there, and then we can start to layer our cute little characters around the tool bench. And I just think they're just so sweet. The little baby one, like I just can't with how adorable he is. So he just looks so proud, he's so cute. So we're going to layer him right there, and then I'm going to add some things onto the pegboard there. So we've got the ruler, which brings in the yellow. We've got a wrench, and then also I decided to add some blue onto the hammer here to bring in the blue colors, and then some yellow onto the handle of the saw, again to bring in that blue and navy together, which looks so pretty. And then we'll add a little bit of gray onto the metal parts of the tools. Next, we're going to add the hammer onto the pegboard, and then I'm going to give the mouse the little saw to hold to go along with the best dad I ever saw pun, which is so cute. Now here is all the speech bubbles, which has all the speech bubbles. It has all these different speech bubble sizes, and so I went ahead and stamped and die cut some speech bubbles there, and I'm kind of layering them into the scene to see how I like it and exactly what I want them to say. The other thing I'm going to do too is take this little pile of nails and add that around the baby mouse just so that he has like a little extra detail, just like how the bigger mouse has a little extra detail. So now that we've got our speech bubbles, we're going to go ahead and add a little bit of a light blue marker just around the edges, again, just to make it pop, just like we did with that pegboard. And again, the blue is going to bring in the whole blue theme we have going on in this card. And then we're going to be doing some stamping. And so I'm going to be using a mixture of one of the phrases from the Mice Tool stamp set. And then I wanted a different type of phrase, so I went back to the all the speech bubbles for that one. But the first one I'm going to stamp here is "This is not a drill," because I thought it was really funny for the mouse to be saying that while holding the saw. It just made me laugh. And here you can see I'm kind of checking out the stamp set going, what other phrase do I want? And that's what I like about all the speech bubbles. It has all these little like general phrases. And I thought that "I'm so grateful for you" would be really cute for the baby mouse to say on this Father's Day card. So we're going to stamp that into the other speech bubble and then add some foam squares to the back of these and then layer them into the seed. And here you can say, "This is not a drill. I'm so grateful for you." And again, I just think it's just so fun and so cute. And I like that that workshop backdrop gave us the perfect little frame for our mice tool scene. Isn't that so much fun? Oh, I just love this. I can't wait to give this to my husband for Father's Day. Now it's time to create another card. So I went ahead and stamped and colored and die cut a bunch more of the cute Mice Tools characters. And we're going to be using the brand new Build a Toolbox to give them a fun place to play around with. So here is that die set here. It's got all these awesome tools and also the toolbox too. And so we're going to start off by die cutting the toolbox out of some wood grain cardstock, which is going to give it that beautiful texture, making it look like it's been cut from wood. And then we're going to be die cutting these little panel pieces that are included in the Build a Toolbox die set. We're going to die cut that from some chocolate bar cardstock, and those add a contrasting color behind those little die cut holes. So you could use metallic cardstock, you could use a totally different color, or in this case here, we're going to do a tone on tone effect with some of that chocolate bar cardstock. So we're just going to add some glue tube all around those holes there, and then we can just layer that piece right on, and it's sized perfectly to fit right behind. Now to add a little more detail and texture onto this, I'm going to take out my markers here and just add a little bit of color. And so I'm just using a marker that's a little bit darker than the cardstock here. And I'm just kind of going along the edges, and then I'm just going to blend it out with a lighter marker and then an even lighter one. And again, this is just going to give it that extra little detail. You don't have to do this part, but I just think it's so fun to add extra detail to different cardstock die cuts. So now we're going to be die cutting a bunch of these tools. These tools are so much fun, and they actually fit really nice on that workshop backdrop that we used earlier, which is really cool too. So we're going to die cut all these little detail pieces here. We've got the ruler. Those are the handles for the pliers, the screwdriver, and then the hammer. And then because we added some detail to those other die cuts, we're going to do the same thing onto here. So I just used some yellow markers there, a red marker that's just a little bit darker than the color of the cardstock, just to add some detail. Same thing here with our blue. And then for the hammer, I wanted it to be a little bit of a different color that kind of coordinated with the toolbox. So I decided to just use my markers on some white cardstock. And so I'm just going to blend that out, and you'll see just how cute that's going to look with the hammer. Now for all of the metal parts of the tools, we're going to be using some of this silver metallic cardstock, which is perfect for that. And so we're going to die cut all of those pieces. And then all you need to do is just add some liquid glue to the handles of the different tools, and then we can layer on our detail images here. And what I like about this is you could add any colors to use for any color scheme that you might be thinking of for your card. It's a fun way to add lots of gorgeous pops of color on these adorable little tool themed cards. So here we're going to add some of those handles onto the pliers. And aren't those looking so adorable? Oh my goodness, I just love them. And so next it's time to start adding them into the toolbox. So we're going to add some tape runner to the back of the tools and then just kind of layer them in the toolbox, having parts of them peek out or go over the edge and then behind, just so they look really, really interesting and fun, like someone just threw all their tools into this toolbox. I'm making sure they each overlap just a little bit because, again, that kind of makes it look like a real toolbox. And there's something that's so fun about adding these little miniature tools into a little miniature toolbox. Like, it just gives me so much joy. Like, look how cute this is. It's just so much fun. And I love that this toolbox would be so super cute on its own, but when we add the mice, it's going to be even more adorable. So now that I've layered all those tools in there, I'm actually just going to use a piece of washi tape to just secure them in the back there, just to make sure they hold in place nicely since I've got them in a perfect placement there. And then I'm going to take out my white gel pen and just add some details all around the box. And I feel like this just really makes them pop. Like you can see, look how pretty that is. It just looks so cute. And I know sometimes it's hard to go like, oh, where should I put these white gel pen details? I have to tell you, a lot of times I just take a look at the design team's cards and I go with what they do, or anytime I see a curve, I just go around the curve and do a little line and a dot, and it's going to look perfect. Now, these are our brand new Tool Time background stencils. It's a two-step stencil, and so I thought it would be fun to create a tool background to go along with this whole tool-themed card. And so I'm going to start off with the first stencil here, which is going to be all of the silver parts of the tool. So like the saw, the wrench, the top part of the hammer, etc. And I'm going to use some manatee ink for this, and I'm going to use a really light hand because I wanted it to look like a nice light silver. This is also a nice place to use your silver paste too, because that looks so, so cool on these tools with that metallic look. But this light gray ink I think is going to be really beautiful. And so we're going to peel up that stencil and then we're going to take the second stencil, which has all the handles, and it actually has some etched guidelines on it. So it makes it really, really easy to line up. For this, you could do them all in one color, but I thought it would be fun to have a mixture of colors that are going to coordinate with the colors that we added onto those die cut tools. And so I'm just going to line that up there and then we can press down and hold that in place. And I'm going to be using little small brushes to make sure I just add color to the exact handles that I want. And so I'm picking one color and then one tool. So like all the saws are going to have this yellow color that's going to coordinate with the yellow of the ruler. Then I'm going to take out some red here for all the handles of the screwdrivers, which the screwdriver actually it has a red handle too. So I think that's really fun. Then for these kind of mallet hammers, I'm going to take out a nice bright blue. So we have, I think it's lemonade, fish tank, and lobster so far. And then for everything else, we're going to take out dough, which is a nice brown. And so that way we'll have kind of a neutral with our pops of color. And so once we have those all on there, you can see I was kind of making sure, did I forget anything? I'm just going to add a little bit more ink right there. And then we can go ahead and peel up the stencil. This is always my favorite part of stenciling, is seeing this fun surprise. Isn't that so cute? I love how it turned out. It's going to be such a fun background. And right now I am recreating a card by Tammy. So thank you so much, Tammy. So here we have our background, and I did this on a standard size piece, 5.5 by 4.25, and we're going to use the largest stitched rectangle frame, which is the same size, and I'm going to be adding some of these 3D foam strips all around the edge. I love these foam strips because they're the perfect size to layer behind these frames and backdrops, and so we're going to add those on there and then just peel up the liner paper and then layer that over our tool background. And I love the popped up frame because it kind of feels like a little shadow box. Then we can start to layer everything into the frame. So we have our cute mice tools there, and we also have our die cut tools too. So we're going to add some foam to the back of all of these tools, and we're going to pop that up. And I'm going to add that first because that's kind of going to be our ground almost for these little mice, and they're going to go all around this toolbox. So we're going to add that onto the card, making sure it's nice and centered, and then we can start layering some of the adorable mice onto here. So we're going to be adding foam squares to all of these guys too. I think the pop is really fun, and also the background is a little bit busy, so by popping them up, that's gonna help with the busyness of the background. And so I'm gonna start layering this guy. I love this guy here that is using his hammer to add that nail to a piece of wood. I think that is so super cute. We have the other guy kind of gesturing to the toolbox, which is so fun. And then I love this assembly required box, and it's gonna be a great place for our tape measure mouse to hang out on. I'm also gonna add that little pile of nails behind the guy with the hammer, so it looks like he's got more nails he's gonna start creating with there. And then we can add add some foam tape and also some adhesive too onto this little guy, and it looks like he's measuring the toolbox. Isn't that so fun? I just think they look so adorable. Now, next we're going to work on our sentiment. And so we're going to be using the Henry's ABC's die cut letters, and we're going to die cut out the word dad. And so I've die cut the letters here from some lobster cardstock, that beautiful red, and then also from some white cardstock. So I'm going to die cut a bunch of these out of the white cardstock because we're going to stack them. But before I do that, I'm just going to add some fun little white gel pen details onto the letters so that it goes along with the other die cut things that have the white gel pen details too. And then we can take our glue tube and add it to the letters here, and we're going to stack them because I wanted the dad letters to have the same height as everything with the foam, but they're pretty thin letters, so adding the foam behind it might have been a little tricky. So I thought I'm just going to stack some die cuts. Plus, I really like doing this. I just think it's kind of nice and relaxing. So we're going to stack a bunch of these on top of each other. I think I did about 4 on each letter. We're going to layer the red die cut layers over top of the white, but shift them over to the right just a little bit so that it looks like a cool drop shadow. And so we'll do that again here. So we'll add some liquid glue to the back of the red letter, and you can see I'm shifting the red one over to the right just a little bit so that the white peeks out as a little shadow. And then we'll do the same thing with the word A. Now, I also wanted to have the rest of the sentiment here as a heat emboss sentiment. So here we have some really nice gray cardstock, and we're going to be using the Mice Tools add-on, and we're going to be stamping out your Tool-to-Lee Awesome because that's going to go so well with all of the tools. So we're going to stamp that in some clear embossing ink, and then we're just going to sprinkle on some heat embossing powder. You can tap off the excess and then heat it up with your heat tool, and you'll have this beautiful bright white shiny sentiment. Then we're going to take a sentiment banner die and we're going to be die cutting this. And I didn't have the exact perfect size banner, so we're going to line it up with the left-hand side of our sentiment. We'll run it through the die cut machine, and then we'll run it through one more time by layering the edge of the die cut banner there on the other side. And that's going to give us the perfect custom size banner that's going to fit this phrase. Then I'm going to add some foam tape to the back of this one. I'm going to layer this one first, and then we're going to layer the dad letters over top of that. So there we've got some of our foam tape, and we can layer that right above the tools. And I like the gray because it goes along with the shiny metal tools. And then we can add some adhesive to our letters. And I'm going to start with the A since that's the center letter. I'm going to make sure it's nice and centered, and then it'll be easy to add the rest of the phrase to there. And so it's going to say, Dad, you're totally awesome, which is so cute with the die cut tools and the mice and the stencil tools. It's just so much fun. Now that we have everything layered here, we're going to take out a standard size card base here that's 5.5 by 4.25. We can add some tape runner to this, and then we can layer our panel on top. And now this card is all done. I love that these little mice are so cute on their own, but they're also really, really fun mixed and matched with something like these die cut tools and stencil tools too. They are just so adorable. And next up, Shari is going to wow you because she is going to have these mice building a house for a super cute thank you themed card. So take it away, Shari.
So on my card today, I'm using the Mice Tools stamps and the add-on, along with the little sentiment here from Simply Celebrate Teachers to create a thank you card. And my little mice today are going to be building a cabin among some beautiful blossoms. So I'm using the Big Blossom Flowers, and I'm also using the Build a Cabin die set. So I've already cut out all my pieces there. You see them on the side. Here is the Build a Cabin. We're going to do a little bit of coloring on our die cuts. So here are my cabin pieces. I cut the main body of the cabin from kraft cardstock. And then I have my accent pieces of my roof, my door frame, and my window frames cut from narwhal cardstock, and I am just using some liquid glue to go ahead and build my cabin. So I added the roof, I'm adding these little window panes or window frames. And then for the door, what I'm going to do is fold on the score line that the die creates. So we're opening the door. And then I can take the door frame and we'll just slide it around that door, just like this, and you can snug it right up against that door hinge. I did cut a little piece of yellow spiffy speckles paper in a rectangle that is going to fit behind the door and the windows, all one piece. And this will just give us a nice glow like the lights are on inside the cabin. Next up, I pulled a few markers out of my stash. I'm using some Olos today, and I am going to add some shading. So I'm starting with this OR 7.4. You can see I added a shadow underneath the line of the roof. And now I'm just adding some shadow to the bottom of the logs of our log cabin. This just really makes those details kind of stand out a little bit more and gives this die cut some really fun dimension. Then I'm going to go in with a lighter shade. This is that OR 7.2, and I'm just going to kind of blend it out and add a little more color. Now it looks really dark here, but as it dries, it actually does lighten up more and look more pastel-y, kind of like that kraft cardstock. Now, before I'm done with my markers, I'm actually going to add some kind of details, sort of a faux wood grain to the door. And I'm going to do this by adding some flicks of the marker in the vertical direction. So I added that with my darker color, and then I'm coming in and kind of blending out with my lighter. I think this really makes it look like a log cabin. We're also going to add a little bit of marker shading to our flowers, and these flowers are cut from lilac cardstock. I think they turned out really pretty. So I'm just pulling a darker shade of purple down from the center of the flower towards the outside of the petals, and then I'll just blend it out with a slightly lighter one. Again, I think this adds some really fun dimension to our die cuts. While we have our flowers here, I am going to go ahead and add a little bit of liquid glue to the centers and pick up the centers of the flowers and drop them in place. Now these centers are cut from sunflower cardstock. And once I have them on there, I'm going to do a little bit of marker on them as well, taking a darker shade of yellow and just tapping my marker along the bottom, so just little dots of color. It's much easier to color these centers of the flowers once they're glued to the flower than to try and hold down that tiny little die cut. And while I have them here, I will go ahead and add them to their stems. And I cut these stems from cilantro cardstock. So I'll add each bloom to a stem, and then we will set those aside until we are ready to assemble our card. I also cut the leaves from the Big Blossom Flowers die set out of cilantro cardstock. You get 2 small leaves and 2 large leaves, each of them going in a different direction. And I am just going to add some shading to these as well. I am not going to add these to my stems just yet. These are all going to be tucked behind our cabin, so we're just going to wait until we assemble the card to attach our leaves to our stems. Now for the card base, I have a white card base. I have a piece of spiffy speckles paper for my sky cut with the largest outside in stitch rectangle. I cut that piece of green blissful blossoms paper with that same outside in stitch rectangle, and I want to stamp the second part of my sentiment, which comes from the Mice Tools add-on stamp set that says no one measures up to you, and I'm going to stamp that down in this green grass. This is going to be the grassy ground for our cabin to sit on. Then I can add these pieces to my card base, and since I used that outside in stitch rectangle, I'm going to get that nice white border around it. Then I can line up the green, and it has that same stitching detail that continues all the way around the rectangle. Now I'm adding foam tape to the back of my cabin. I'm not going to completely press it down just yet because I know I'm going to have to pull it up a little bit to tuck my flowers back here. So I am going to trim off the stems probably a little bit too so I can tuck them a little bit easier. I don't need them quite this tall, but I think this was a really fun look. It looks like these mice built a tiny little cabin in the garden. So I will add my blooms with some liquid glue, just tucking them in behind the cabin. I also think this kind of looks like they're coming up out of the cabin, almost like a chimney, which is why I did not use the chimney piece of the Build a Cabin because I wanted to see more of my little flowers. I also like how this bloom here, I'm going to have to pop up my cabin a little bit, kind of goes off the side of the rectangle. I think it just is fun to extend these pieces just a little bit past that border, which you're going to see me do with the leaves as well. So here are all the leaves that I added some marker to earlier. And we're going to do the same with these. We're just going to tuck them in behind the cabin as if they were attached to the stems. And this last one here is going to kind of overhang to the edge of the rectangle again. So now we're ready to add the rest of our scene. There is a little heart that I cut here. This is not the heart from Build a Cabin. This is just one of the hearts from the Hearts and Stars Skinny Tag Die. Of course, I always have those just sitting on my desk, but I thought it gave a nice little pop of color. Then we're adding the little mouse from the Mice Tools add-on. He's going to be in the door with that little saw there. I love this guy who's measuring. I think he's really fun. Then we have this other one that's going to go over here on the left, and we're going to give him a hammer in his hand here in a minute so he looks like he is busy doing things. I like that this one doesn't have a tool, so you can kind of pick which tool you want to add to his hand. Then, of course, this one that's down on his knees hammering, he is up on the roof doing lots of work. I may or may not have designed this card when I actually had people on my roof putting a new roof on, but I thought this was fun for him to be up there hammering away with his little box of nails. And then, of course, this is a thank you card. And we have those fun bubbly sentiments and a matching die to cut them out. So I'm just putting some foam strips on the back of that thank you sentiment. I also like that the die cuts them in two pieces so we can stack them like I'm doing here instead of having to have a long sentiment. Now there is also a tiny little heart in that Simply Celebrate Teachers stamp set, and I decided to stamp a few hearts up in the sky. You could also use some little die cut hearts, but I do like to change it up sometimes, so I'm just using my guava ink and stamping a few little hearts. Now I am only going to add glitter to the pink heart on the cabin on this card. That is all the glitter I put on this card, and it is finished, and I just think it turned out so cute. Think of all the fun things that these cute little mice could build.
I am so in love with this card, Shari, and I can't wait to make one just like it. And next up, we have some incredible cards by the design team. And this one by Megan is so super sweet. She added them onto our workshop backdrop in the portrait style, and they are so adorable on those shelves. I love this card by Audrey and how she used our giant Happy Dad's Day sentiment with the adorable mice and the die cut tools. This scene by Mindy is so much fun. You're nailing this dad thing is such a fun sentiment, and I love how she's got the chair and the tool bench and everything. It's just adorable. And then this card by Mindy too is just so much fun, and I love that this can work as a Dad's Day or as a general card too. This Father's Day card by Elise is so sweet, and I love how she layered those pattern papers and added some twine. And this card by Audrey is so fun, and I love how she has the stenciled background, and the big giant hammer with the mouse with the hammer is just so fun. This card by Lynette is adorable, and I love how she used the wood grain paper as the background. It's the perfect thing for these mice. This card by Grace blew me away. She took our car and our bathtub and layered them to create what looks like a construction vehicle. I have to make this card for my son Miles. He is going to love it. I love this card by Letitia and how she added the sentiment on the bottom that kind of becomes the ground for the scene. I think that is so much fun. And then here is the card by Tammy that inspired us to make ours today. So we are so excited to see all of your Mice Tools cards, so make sure to share them with us. Thank you so much for watching today, and I hope you have an absolutely amazing day. Bye!